those scenes of Biden alone at the conference table at Camp David last week? Something felt weird about this entire situation. What was going on that none of Biden's top cabinet officials were with him at that pivotal time? Was it just extended alone time Biden needed with Jill? It's very odd. And when word leaked last night that Joe Biden's CIA director, William Burns, had met with a top Taliban leader on Monday, we weren't surprised. Relying on the good graces of the Taliban. Either they've cut some deal with the Taliban we don't know about, and Lord knows what we paid for that, or we're making another disastrous calculation here. Now, this raises lots of questions. First, why send the CIA director and not a State Department official? And what were the parameters of the talks? Did the CIA director push to get the August 31st deadline extended? Did he ask if any Americans were being held against their will, or did he demand their immediate release and safe passage? Well, if so, presumably he said something like that, what did we give up for that guarantee? It's hard to believe that the Taliban just did this or promised anything out of the goodness of their hearts. Come on. This entire scenario has been so fraught with lies and mishandling, misrepresentations, we frankly don't know what to think. But one thing we do know is that after making a cold political calculation, President Biden announced today that he was, in fact, bowing to the Taliban's wishes and sticking to the August 31st troop withdrawal date.
The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But the completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who we're transporting out, and no disruptions to our operations.
It's always good to hear the President of the United States, so it's depending on the Taliban to cooperate. Okay. Now, while the majority of Americans believe we needed to be out of Afghanistan years ago, they certainly cannot like the appearance at least, that it is the Taliban, not our president, calling the shots. It's even making Biden's biggest fans nervous.
It's not the greatest look. We've got now the Taliban says nope, and President Biden has to say nope.
You could also look at this as a tremendously humiliating moment of American humiliation, right. Forced to leave on the Taliban's clock. Well, I think history will judge this moment as a very dark period for the United States.
And as if the humiliation could not get worse, the Taliban is doing the media circuit, sounding triumphant and unmoving. Today, they announced that Afghans, they'll be staying put. They don't want them leaving the country, but that Americans should just concentrate on removing your citizens only.
We want them to evacuate all foreign nationals by August 31st, and we are not in favor of allowing Afghans to leave.
Heartbreaking, but again, to be expected. The Biden administration not only comes across as weak, but as feckless and inept, which is what happens when you elect a man who should be playing bingo with his nurse before hitting the buffet for the 4:30 p.m. senior special. And while we're talking about details and terms that are being hidden from the American people, the true scope of the refugee situation must be revealed. Importing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Afghans to the United States is bound to pose major challenges with huge financial, cultural, and security costs. Of course, Biden wants you to believe that he's got this whole vetting thing totally under control.
We're conducting thorough security screening in the intermediate stops they're making for anyone who is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Anyone arriving in the United States will have undergone a background check.
A background check with those great Afghan files. Now, raise your hand if you trust the people behind the current border crisis here and the Afghanistan debacle to properly vet each and every one of these people. The fact is, we've already seen potential bad actors nearly slip through the system. Defense One is reporting earlier today that security screeners at the Al Quaid Air Base in Qatar have detected that at least one of the Afghans who was evacuated from Kabul has potential ties to ISIS. Oh, goody. You might say, hold on, Ingram, it's just one person caught before arriving in the United States. But here's the thing. It's not just one person. Defense One goes on to report the DoD has flagged up to 100 of the 7,000 Afghans evacuated as prospective recipients of the special immigration visas, as potential matches to intel agency watch lists. Well, it's just 100. Now remember, we will likely be bringing in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, more refugees from Afghanistan. Enough is enough. So right now, right away, the GOP has to step up. We need real oversight here, not symbolism. Our country's in danger. The GOP must press for immediate answers to the following questions. Number one, why are non-Americans being evacuated before Americans? Number two, how many Americans are likely to be left behind? What will happen to them? Number three, how many non-Americans are being brought to this country now? The real number. Is there any reason to believe that the vetting is actually being done in accordance with U.S. law? Is there any reason to believe that the vetters have any interest other than open borders? And number four, where are the non-Americans going to be settled? And do state and local officials have any say in that matter? Number five, are we paying the Taliban to stop them from attacking the airport? If so, under what legal authority are these payments being made? All of this has to be investigated immediately. Biden says now's not the time. Yes, now's the time. The GOP must also be prepared to go to court. Every American's got to get out of there, but our Constitution and our laws have to be followed every step of the way. The Biden people, as I just said, just lost that case on the stay in Mexico policy at the Supreme Court. We have to assume they're breaking the law here as well. And finally, the GOP must make clear that it will not support more defense spending until Austin, Milley, and Sullivan are all gone. Otherwise, we're just going to be throwing good money after bad. They'll start listening then. Biden's team is not going to act in good faith. There's no point in pretending otherwise. The Democrats cannot be allowed to take a crisis of their own making and then turn around and use that crisis to change or flout U.S. refugee policy. They've already tried that on the border. Because they turned the border into a magnet and women and babies are showing up there, it's desperate. We now have to let everybody in, even if doing so is contrary to U.S. law. No way. It's time for GOP members to do their constitutional duty to protect what's left of our laws and our national security. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.